Well, the first album was released in 2008.
Mhm.
Have you listened to that album recently or not?
I listened, no.
When did you listen to it the last time? What do you hear now? Do you still recall?
I listen to a lot of my music quite frequently. That record I hear like a great like explosion of confidence or something, but it's all very restrained at the same time. It's very restrained. But I hear the sound of something happening. Yeah, that record is definitely two parts. Like the first half of it was like pretty early on, like kind of not ramshackle recordings, but me kind of like just recording songs, and then the second half of that record is when I bought my tape machine and started having like a little bit of a different approach to how I was recording at home, which is like a much more interactive kind of like having all my gear there, like learning about how recording. Like usually I was recording on like a little digital thing, and then I moved on to like having a tape machine, like a board, and that was like when I started to really explore like sonic stuff more than I ever had, and that's like the second half of Wagon Wheel. So it's cool. I love. It's fun to listen back to that stuff and be like, oh wow, that was I just remember. I remember where I was and I remember how I felt.
And how?
I was like without a care in the world, really, I just did music, worked on that stuff all the time, like obsessed over it. I obsess over it now, but in like a different way. But yeah, the house I lived in, I still live in, that was just like devoted entirely to like music. Like people were coming over all the time and playing, and it was like a central kind of, it's like a central place where we were practicing and recording and hanging out and and drinking beer, and it was fun. But it wasn't, it's good. There's a lot of relationships formed around that time, like a lot of different relationships in my life.
And if you listen to Slave Ambient, how did you feel during that recording?
That was a little different because I was still searching for had a lot of material. Like that one I was recording all the time in the same way, like where the second half of Wagon Wheel left off, I picked up with Slave Ambient. I was recording a ton and but I wasn't finishing I wasn't finishing ideas. I was just recording and making these weird, or not even weird, but just these like soundscapes or samples or anything, like these big walls of sound, but not really knowing or having the ability to go a little further with it. So it took a long time to get it to a part where the songs started to shine through or something. And then when those started happening, when we started, when Jeff Ziegler and I started putting the finishing touches on a few songs, then a few new songs came up. Like the Best Night, the first song, and Brothers. But once we it was a lot of material to sift through. That was more constructed. That was more a ton of material and ton of sound formed into songs through arranging, moving things in and out and overdubbing, and just I couldn't make a record like that again, only because the way I did it. It only sounds the way it does because of how I kind of went in between tape and the computer and back and forth and transferring and things being lost in the shuffle in that way.
And this album?
This album was a little different, just in the sense that that part of me that was obsessively recording in his house, was kind of gone for some reason. I lost a lot of that.
How come?
I don't know. I think I'm not sure. That's kind of that's the journey I went on for this album. I was just figuring out, trying to figure out, what your purpose is, and just I wanted to make a record that showcased how good a live band we'd become, and how the songs that we were playing Slave Ambient kind of changed. But I didn't want to make a band record. Like, I didn't want to make like a democratic kind of all in the studio, everyone do their thing record. Like, I still wanted to make it mine and play the instruments the way I wanted to play them, but also go for that big band sound, without being necessarily like beholden to the new band like lineup or anything. Yeah. But like when Robbie, like, who plays keyboards and piano in the band, he's just like an amazing player, so I didn't want him to just do his thing on every song, because then it would just kind of get lost in the shuffle. But I knew I had a few songs where I knew that we were going to work hard and get like a great piano take, you know? Like for the song Eyes to the Wind, I was like, you know, that's just going to be like a great moment. So it took us about 5-6 months to keep working on the song until I feel like, you know, until Robbie started playing. Once the song started to turn into what it became, then he really started playing from here, and it's like a great recorded moment, you know? And that's kind of the way I wanted to approach this one, was like less like big washes of sound or something, and more like thinking about arrangements and the band, you know, but also being able to like go in and like do it in the same way I always had it in my house, but just not necessarily in my house, like at studios, and just think about the music in a little bigger way, a little wider too.
And lyric-wise, because for me, and what are the lyrics for you about?
I think they're about trying to find your purpose. You know, there's a lot of things. I mean, relationships coming apart, or communication coming apart, or things generally falling apart. But I wanted to, you know, make something that, like, I felt like after Slave Ambient, it was like a lot of people really liked that album, and I really liked it, and it did good things for the band, and we got to tour. But I started thinking at the end, I mean, even the whole time, really, I was like, what am I really saying, you know, as a writer or performer, what am I really talking about? What am I really singing about? I knew I needed to like give a little bit more of myself to make something that I was like, I guess, truly happy with. And I just kind of started working on the album, and then as I started working on it, I started like, you know, even a little bit before that, started becoming, I don't know, something kind of flipped inside of me, and my lifestyle changed a lot, and ended up not really leaving my house for a while, and just kind of going on this journey, like trying to figure out what is this? Who am I? You know, I'm thankful for my friends. I'm thankful for the, you know, the love I have in my life, and the love given back to me, and I want to be, you know, it's like wanting to open up, record about wanting to like be a little more open, even though, you know,